He started therapy on a Monday. By Friday, he was a different man. Not angry, not distant, just composed, like someone who had been handed a new script and learned every line by heart. He listened more, argued less, but there was something in his stillness that made me uneasy. The way he looked at me, like he was studying me, not loving me. And then over breakfast, he said something that stopped me mid-bite. Maybe the reason you get defensive is because deep down, you're scared of being truly seen. I froze. That wasn't his language. That was hers. The exact words I'd once whispered to a college roommate during a breakdown, years ago. Words I had never told him. Before I tell you what I found, if stories like this make your pulse quicken, hit that like button. And if you want to dive deeper into the dark corners of love, trust, and betrayal, subscribe. Because sometimes the scariest monsters aren't strangers. They're the ones who say they're trying to help you. The name had slipped my mind for years. Natalie Hart, my college roommate, psychology major. Brilliant, manipulative, and, for a short while, the only person who knew everything about me. We were inseparable until we weren't. Our friendship ended with a silence so sharp it still rings in my ears. She accused me of using her secrets for attention. I accused her of emotional blackmail. We tore each other apart in the quietest, most calculated way. No screaming, just withdrawal. No closure. And now, she was back, inside my marriage, inside my husband's head. At first, I tried to convince myself it was a coincidence. Maybe it was just a phrase they both happened to know. Maybe I was being paranoid. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Like something was crawling just beneath the surface of my skin. So I checked. He'd left his phone on the counter, open to a calendar invite. Dr. Natalie Hart, 6 p.m., Thursday. My heart stuttered. I zoomed in on the profile picture. Same sharp jawline. Same eyes that once scanned my diary when she thought I was asleep. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to him, his back turned, breathing steady. And I kept asking myself, is this a violation? Or is this just what therapy looks like? I tried to rationalize. Maybe she didn't recognize my name. Maybe it was a fluke. But the more he spoke after sessions, the way he phrased things, the memories he dug up, the specific fears he now knew how to press, the more certain I became. This wasn't accidental, she knew. And she was speaking through him. Still, I said nothing. I smiled. I played the role of the supportive wife, while inside I felt like I was being slowly dissected. He started asking me strange questions, not the kind that come from curiosity, the kind that come from someone mapping you. Do you think people see the real you? When did you first feel unheard as a child? Why do you always change the subject when we talk about trust? They weren't casual. They were diagnostic. I tried laughing them off. What, are you training to be a therapist too now? He didn't smile. He said, just trying to understand you better. But I wasn't stupid. I could hear her voice in his. One evening, I came home early. His car was already in the driveway, which was odd. Thursday was therapy day. I walked in, quietly, and heard him on the phone. Yes, I said it exactly how you told me to. She froze. Like you predicted. I stood there, breath caught like I was intruding on a crime scene. I didn't confront him that night. I waited until the next day, when he was calm. Back to the centered version of himself. I placed a photo of Natalie on the kitchen table. One we took back in college, just before everything fell apart. His face didn't even flinch. You knew? I asked. Since the first session, he said. She told me. Said you had history, but that it might help uncover deeper patterns in our dynamic. I laughed. It came out dry. Ugly. You're letting my ex-best friend, who hates me, dissect our marriage? Feed you lines about me? He shook his head like I didn't get it. It's not about hate. It's about insight. She knows things. about you, about how you cope, deflect. I finally feel like I understand you. You understand what she told you. Same difference, isn't it? That sentence hit harder than I expected. Not because it was cruel, but because he believed it. In his eyes, I wasn't his wife anymore. I was a case, a pattern, a construct explained by another woman. And that's when I realized this wasn't therapy. This was a quiet war, and I was losing. I started watching what I said, which stories I told, which expressions crossed my face. I could feel the analysis in his eyes, like he wasn't listening to me anymore, just studying me, logging reactions, comparing me to whatever narrative Natalie had built. I found one of his notebooks. He'd never been a journal guy, not even a grocery list type. But now there were notes, paragraphs, bullet points like, avoids vulnerability when confronted with past, uses humor as deflection, tears up when talking about childhood, explore further. Explore? Was I still a wife to him, or just an ongoing project? Every room in the house began to feel like glass, like I could see through the walls, but there was no way out. I started second-guessing my memories. Had I ever told him about my panic attacks in college? Had I mentioned that summer when I didn't speak to my father? Or was he hearing it all now, filtered through her? She was inside our home without ever stepping foot in it. Every question he asked was like a door she opened behind my back, and he just kept walking through them. I began dreaming of college, of the night Natalie told me, through tears, "You make people feel safe, but you always leave when it gets real." I'd brushed it off back then, but now it echoed in everything my husband said. Was he falling out of love with me, or was he being guided out? The final straw was the envelope. No return address, just my name, handwritten. Inside, a note. Therapy only works if you stop pretending. You owe it to him to be honest. I warned you once. You can't lie forever. I stared at the paper until the letters blurred. My hands shook because that handwriting, I remembered it from the note she used to leave under my pillow in college, back when we were still best friends. She was speaking to me now, not just through him, but directly. And I realized this wasn't about therapy. This was about control. I confronted him that night, not with screaming. That would only prove her right. No, I sat across from him, calm, steady, rehearsed, the way he'd become. "Did you know she sent me a letter?" He didn't blink. "She said you might twist things, that you have a history of deflecting blame." My chest tightened. "So now you believe her over me." He sighed, as if I was exhausting. "I believe patterns, I believe consistency, and I believe that what she's helping me uncover makes sense, more sense than what you've been saying." I wanted to ask, what have I been saying? But I didn't, because deep down, I already knew the answer. It didn't matter. Not anymore. "Do you love me?" I asked. "I think I loved who I thought you were, but that version doesn't feel honest anymore." I stared at him. At the man who once kissed my forehead while I cried over nothing. At the man who now looked at me like a case study gone stale. He stood up, calm, certain. "I think we need space. Real space. I've already talked to Doctor Hart about it. She agrees. This marriage isn't sustainable without full transparency." I wanted to laugh. She agrees. She always agrees. She's been in our bed for weeks, not in flesh, but in influence. And just like that, he left. Left me in a house full of echoes. His words, her voice, my silence. I didn't cry. Not that night. I just sat there staring at the envelope again. Not because of what it said, but because I realized something. She never needed revenge. She just needed an audience. And now she had one. Loyal, obedient, and mine. I used to think secrets were like locked boxes, hidden, buried, inert, but they're not. They rot. They whisper, And if someone knows where to dig, they'll pull them to the surface, no matter how deep you buried them. Natalie didn't come back into my life with fire. She came with silence, strategy, and a patient scalpel. She didn't ruin my marriage. She rewrote it. And maybe the worst part isn't that I lost him, it's that he thinks he found himself. Because healing isn't always what it seems. Sometimes it's just another story told from the wrong mouth. And now I ask you, if your partner's therapist knew every version of you, the broken, the cruel, the reckless, would you still feel safe in their love? Or would you wonder who's really watching you from across the table?